Hi, I'm Vic. I'm deaf, and I'm making a series of videos about the fundamentals of sign languages. This is the second in the series, and this time we're focusing on orientation, location, and movement. Three elements that are common to all sign languages. So orientation is all about the kind of degrees off the basic form that you have the hand. And if I have a B from American or Irish Sign Language, it could be like that, it could be like that, like that. C's, similarly, there are different ways that they can be. The important thing to remember about orientation is it's never going to be uncomfortable. You'll never find yourself, for example, with that as the orientation for an A in Irish Sign Language, or you'll never find yourself with a B, any kind of very awkward movement that sort of strains your wrist or your shoulder is not going to happen. You'll never have to put an A like that. It's an awkward movement. So orientation is important to get right because signs can mean something very different if you get the orientation wrong. Just as an example, this is the orientation for animal. This is the orientation for act. The hands are in a similar location, but there's a different orientation. Once you know the hand shapes of your sign language, hello cat, then you need to look at the orientations of different signs and kind of start getting used to those. Okay, we have a companion for this video. This is Tush. His name is Tushkali, which means explorer. Okay, the second thing is location. Now, all sign languages have sort of a box around the body in which the signs can be located. Um, and this box has some extension in this direction and some extension in this direction. The box is not the same in every sign language. Irish Sign Language is roughly like that, with there's a couple of signs that go below the waist, but most of them are from the waist up. Notably, the sign for dog, where you tap your hand on your thigh, would be one that goes below the waist. American Sign Language has a very similar box, but Black American Sign Language has a larger box. There's locations that are further out to the side and a little higher up. Now, location is all about where the sign starts. So, for example, the sign for aunt in Irish Sign Language starts here. The sign for army or military starts here. The sign for animal starts here. The sign for act also starts here, and so on. There are certain locations that have sort of a common lexical meaning. For example, in Irish Sign Language, the weak shoulder, so you have your dominant hand and your weak hand. Um, if you are signing, you always sign with your dominant hand. So your weak shoulder, in my case, my dominant hand is right, my weak shoulder is left. But if you're left-handed, then your dominant hand is left, your weak shoulder is right. But your weak shoulder is often the place where you sign quite positive things. Like in Irish Sign Language, you put a G there to make good, an R to make real, and A to mean vaccine. So you have sort of positive associations here. The dominant side of your face has positive associations, but the weak side of your face doesn't. So if we take an F and we bring it down here, it's funny. But if we do it down here, it's fiction. And this is lie. This location here in Irish Sign Language, you have do, work, practice, busy. So they all have a sort of a similar association. I mentioned earlier, this is the start of aunt. We have aunt, uncle, cousin, nephew. So again, there's sort of an association. Yeah, so location, know the location of the sign, the location it starts in, the location it finishes in. And as I say, mostly you'll be signing within this box. So when you're finger spelling, you want to keep in the box. You don't want to be finger spelling over here. There's a second aspect to location that's really important, and it's a bit more advanced, but still fundamental to sign languages, and that is that you can situate characters within a narrative depending on a location within your box. So, if you were telling a story about your first partner and your second partner, rather than continually referring to them by name or something like that, you might say, my first partner, and you're looking in this direction, or my second partner, you're looking in this direction. And thereafter, when you're referring to something that this person did, you look in that direction. And you're referring to something this person did, you look in that direction. So you actually create kind of a place for things in the narrative. You can also do this with countries. If you were saying America and Russia, or uh, Denmark and Ireland, and then as you switch your view back and forth, people will understand who you're talking about. So, location. The final thing is movement. Signs move. Um, when you're finger spelling, of course, you're going to, A, B, C. And that's fairly static, but then you get to a word like beer, which is in Irish Sign Language spelled out. We don't have a specific sign for it. It's B-E-E-R. So there's a movement to convey the double E. And some people will do B-E-E-R, and some people will do B-E-E-R. Movement is really important because movement can also go beyond conveying just meaning to also convey some of the emotion. Now, we'll talk more about that when we talk about expression. But examples of movement. You have rotational movements like animals, partner. You have back and forward movement like work, busy, practice. You have bounces of different kinds like access, military or army, good. You can have rising movements like great, sun, just hello, and this is Nina. another visitor. Hello. Yes, like Ireland. Ireland has just this little movement of a salute in it. But you can also have signs that transition from one place to another, as we saw with aunt or uncle. There's a movement from A to B. Now, this can get more complex as you have signs like, for example, this is an E. I'm going to hold my dominant hand in an E. My weak hand is like this. And I'm going to say exactly. So if I just go exactly, it's a short, sharp movement down to the hand. Exactly. But what if I went, or what if I was, so this movement now is conveying more meaning than the simple lexical exact or exactly. It's also conveying a sense of the emotion. We sometimes see this with these are Ys, with years, where we might talk about years or years. If I do years with a slight backward movement, I'm kind of indicating past years. So I might be saying something like 5 years ago rather than in 5 years. Sorry, all the animals want to be on video today. Can you leave that alone? Thank you. This is Addie. Addie came to us a couple of years ago. She was found in a shed. Poor thing. She's odd. Yes, and she likes to give paw. I don't know why. We didn't teach her. She just does it. Maybe she's trying to sign. What are you trying to sign? The movement is really crucial when you're trying to express yourself. You'll see it with the word fly or flight in Irish Sign Language, where people will kind of indicate sort of a direction of movement or indicate a rocky flight or something like that. And you see it a lot in sign language performance. Whatever sign language you're learning, and again, all of my examples were Irish Sign Language because that's the sign language I use, being Irish. Whatever sign language you're learning, you need to learn the orientations, locations, and movements that are appropriate for that sign language. You need to learn the location for finger spelling, which is usually dominant hand raised like that. You need to locate the locations that are going to be for good signs or bad signs. You're going to want to know how sharply movements can happen. Okay, next time we'll talk about expression, and then we'll finish talking about cultural context. Do your best to learn your sign language. Remember, you learn your hand shapes. That's your basic. You can find me on Patreon. Link is in the description. You can find me on my blog. That link is also in the description. And yeah, see you next time.